and welcome to the WTF Performance Garage. My name is Joel.
I'm Lindsay.
And today we're going to thank our 100 subscribers. Actually 109 officially at this moment. It's a small accomplishment, but it feels pretty big.
It does.
So if you're a new subscriber, thank you for clicking that button. And if you're not a new subscriber, you should join us because I'm trying to get this giant pile of Corvette running this year, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
So I figured I'd just kick this video off talking about the car, answering a few questions that you guys had, and doing a quick tour of the new garage. So we moved into this house about a year ago. It's almost a year.
Wow.
But this garage, when we moved in, had one light switch and one outlet, and that outlet was on the ceiling because it was the power for the garage door opener. So the only light in it was the garage door opener, which the bulbs were burnt out. So I'll give you a quick walk around and show you what I've done to the place. So obviously the first thing I did was upgrade the electric. I added some switches, so now I have outside lights, which is nice because it didn't have any of those, and I've got some new inside lights, which I kind of went crazy on. I actually wired up a bunch of outlets to the ceiling, and then I used shop lights. I probably dropped like $300 in shop lights. How many did I buy? Like 16?
Yeah, I think so.
I bought a ton of lighting, and it's partly because we're making YouTube videos. I want you guys to be able to see everything. I don't want to have to be worrying about lighting and stuff, so I just kind of went crazy on that. And I also put some security cameras up just for my own
Peace of mind.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. I found these cabinets in the house. This was in the laundry room, so I went ahead and repurposed them out here. This thing was actually in the garage when we moved in, so I kind of made like a little fabrication area. I just put my little grinder there. I'm hoping to get my welder on a little cart and put it over here too, but just kind of a metalworking small fabrication area away from everything else, so you know the mess kind of stays in the corner of the garage. I had bought this to do all of the suspension on the Corvette, so I was happy to have a place where I can permanently set up some of this equipment that I've been accumulating. So I got the nice big sanding cabinet from Harbor Freight, big enough that you can stick a wheel inside and blast a wheel clean. So I thought that was awesome. But I got a little air compressor next to it. I also have a little vacuum that's not hooked up right now because I haven't really used this thing yet. But this thing is sweet to have. I really appreciate it, and it's awesome to have it permanently set up against the wall where I could just flip a switch and sandblast it apart. Moving along, I bartered a job for one of my old customers at my last job. I traded him a whole bunch of vinyl signs. I used to cut those, so I had my machine and equipment still, and he had these old wheel and tire machines, which honestly aren't that good. I haven't really used them that much yet, but one of the reasons for that is I never had a place where I could set them up, put them on the ground, and use them. So I'm hoping now that they have a location, everything has room to operate, I have room to use them, they have dedicated electric. I'm super pumped. I have a wheel and tire machine. Who else has a wheel and tire machine? Only crazy guys. Again, repurposed cabinets. One of the perks of my last job is I get cool signs like that, so I got the NGK and TK. And just, you know, odds and ends in them right now. Still organizing. I also wanted a ton of shelving so I could put all the products that I have somewhere where they're visible. So the idea I came up with was the whole back wall of the garage, shelving, and it honestly isn't even enough room for all the products that you can own. So
there was zero shelving or anything in here. You did this all?
The only shelving in the garage was on that side, which I actually left. We'll get to that in a second, but I did have to just put really simple shelves up. All I did was screw 2x4s to the studs and then put a piece of wood on top and secure them. So super simple shelves. I didn't want them interfering with the countertops, which I also either built or repurposed old countertops that were in our house. So now I have a nice long bench. I'm a huge fan of having this much workspace and more, because as you start opening cans of worms, it just eats more and more of your workspace. So the more you have, the better. Also, I left the storage open underneath, which will also get more efficient as I add shelves or figure out how to get rid of things. One thing I'd love is a shed next, so I can get my lawnmowers and all the shovels and house BS out of the garage. But I also put together a little small cart on wheels. Again, can't have too much work surface, so this one tucks in under the countertop, and you can also bring it anywhere in the garage. And you know, anywhere you're working. I don't have a tool cart, I got a wood cart. Big screen TV, not a necessity, but I've found it makes me enjoy my garage that much more. It's super inspirational to be wrenching. You know, half the footage you guys saw of me putting the Corvette together was done with either Roadkill Garage or Noriaro or Mighty Car Mods, a bunch of the YouTubers or whatever that I'm just obsessed with those shows, and they really inspire me, and it's super fun to be miserable and have company. So the big screen TV, even if you just want to put some music on and jam in here, it's a nice touch to have, and it was actually a freebie from one of my relatives. It's like 1,000-pound old plasma screen. So it's not like I spent any money there. But moving on, we have what little tools I have. It is truly incredible how much work I've done with no tools. And when I say no tools, I mean no tools. I have big equipment, but I don't have one proper set of wrenches. It's something that I really want to invest in, but every time I go to pull the trigger, I just think, money, that could buy car parts. So I'm gonna have to bite the bullet soon, because this is getting pretty miserable. But you know, I have this basic toolbox. It's got a bunch of random wrenches and sockets that I try to keep organized. I do have like Torx bits and impact sockets and stuff, but other than that, I don't have that many hand tools. I have like nearly zero error power tools, so I use like an electric impact from Harbor Freight half the time. But that brings us over to the wall of carnage, which is some of the shelves that were here from about halfway to the wall. This is the shelving that was in the garage, and it's honestly great for totes. I'm a big fan of totes instead of boxes, so I actually bought totes to move us, knowing that I'd have a million totes left over to put stuff in and mark and be organized. So that's what I've done here. It is a little chaotic because it's not been gone through completely yet, but you know, what do we got in this one? Beanie Babies. Okay, perfect. What about this one? Goldwing parts. You know, it's sweet. You know what's in the boxes, you grab them and you put them back when you're done. So definitely helps stay organized, and it keeps a lot of the clutter shoved into this side, so that's big. That's really it for garage and tool stuff. Let's move on to the car. The two projects I have in the garage right now are my 1980 Corvette. It is a frame right now. I did get the suspension completely rebuilt last winter, or before winter, sometime. It's got all new brakes, it's got all new bearings, all new bushings. Every piece of the suspension has been cleaned and painted, and the only thing left for that is really to align it. So the engine I got is a 5.3 liter, just generic LM7 out of whatever Chevy truck that it came out of. Bought it for $300, never ran in my possession. Hopefully it runs. That I coupled to a CD009 transmission. That is a factory Nissan 350 Z-Trans. And I used an adapter kit that normally you would use to put an LS in your 350Z. But I had a buddy I worked with, and he kind of got obsessed with the idea of this transmission. The T56 is a good transmission. I've heard the shifter's a little notchy. It's good and strong, but if it breaks, they're what, $1,500? I don't even know what they're worth now. Probably $2,500 a pop. This one I got from him for $700, I think. The adapter kit was a little pricey, probably another $1,000 in all for the clutch and everything. But I put a badass ACT clutch in it. It should hold up to 600 horsepower, which is my horsepower goal. And just need a custom drive shaft. I was really close to using the original, but I had to shift the engine a little further forward, and that just made it just an inch too short. So I'm gonna have to get that ordered up soon. And then the drivetrain is pretty much bolted in and connected and everything. So some of the guys were asking why use a Nissan transmission. Well, the 350Zs, they're V6s, so they don't have as much power as a V8. So because of that, these gear ratios are much shorter. Where the T56 has 2 overdrives, this only has 1, which is like 5th gear in a T56. So you get 5 speeds that are close ratio, and then you get 1 overdrive. 5th gear is 1-to-1. So my brain was saying, well, shorter gears for like a road course or just street driving is way more fun than long gears. I don't need to go 200 miles an hour. I'm gonna go 130 tops. So I think this transmission with the gear ratio in that transmission, which I do not remember off the top of my head, in my brain when I was crunching the numbers, I was like, that might be a really good combination. But you'll only know by doing it, and I'm a big fan of just doing it. So I decided to use this transmission. They should hold up to 1,000 horsepower, no problem. And if it breaks, it's a lot cheaper to replace than a T56. So I'll be the first one to tell you it worked or it didn't work. We'll find out hopefully this season. It is my goal to drive this car in a few months, which is absurd to say because I'm sitting on a frame. But that said, let's check out the body. This is the body. I bought this thing as a parts car for $1,300, and when I pulled the body off, the frame literally bent in half. The jack was in the middle of the car, and the frame could not support the rear end still bolted to the back half of the frame, and it literally just fell. So that was crazy. That frame was junk. That's why I got this new one. But the body itself also has some pretty bad spots in it. Most notably, probably the floor in the passenger side is gone, and the driver door, it sags like a full inch, and it's not from the hinges. It is just purely from flexing that pillar. I'll show you what I mean. This body's supposed to have 8 mounting points in all. 2 at the very front, 2 at the very rear, and then 2 hidden in front of the rear tires, and then 2 hidden in the passenger and driver footwells. Well, this is the driver footwell. It is almost all gone. And the passenger footwell is not that much better. So this is obviously the worst damage. This isn't ever going to be a show car. It's just like, I saved this thing from the junkyard essentially. Plus, my idea is if this body doesn't work out and I want to change it, it's 8 bolts, pull the steering column, maybe, you know, pull some electrical and stuff. But changing the body from one Corvette to another, not that big of a project actually. Kind of crazy to say, but with how much I've done so far, that is not that bad. So if I were to find a clean body on another car and I wanted to swap it onto this frame, I could definitely do that. But I have this one, I'm gonna try and salvage it. I kind of like that it's gonna be a beater, so it'll be all brand new underneath and full beater on the outside. I'll make it good. I'm like the king of good from 10 feet. But The idea is I'm gonna work on these rust holes, grind them down, put some new sheet metal in there, and try and make this thing able to be bolted back down to the frame, and put some support back in for that door. And that's it. Just nothing fancy. I got a nice speed limit sign that I found that a neighbor gave me, and that's gonna be the footwell on the passenger side for sure. So just gonna do what I can to weld this thing back together into one piece and drop it on the frame and have a car. Now the front end is even more bare because this is probably from another Corvette, but the front end I got has nothing. I got the hood, but I don't have any hinges, no pins, no latches, no locks. It's got some of the fiberglass, so it's actually one piece. One of my ideas, I'm not sure if I'll be able to pull it off, is I want the radiator support to be not part of the body. I want to fabricate it so it ends up being part of the frame. I could maybe just Zeus this thing onto the frame, and then if I ever want to service this thing or do some heavy work, pop a couple Zeus fittings and just take the whole front end off as one piece. It's shitty enough that I'm not worried about doing any more damage to it. So the best part about working on a pile of junk is you can't make it any worse. So you can try crazy stuff and it might work and be cool, and if it doesn't, you just pitch it. So I'm gonna get some custom headlights, you know, fabbed up, nothing crazy. I have an idea for an oil cooler, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I do have a ton of parts, which I could do an unboxing video, but I have a lot of boxes. So I figure I'm just gonna break it down one system at a time, and over the next few weeks, next week, try to crank out the fuel system. The week after that, try to crank out the brake system. Week after that, try to crank out the cooling system. One thing at a time until the car will run. Okay, my goal with this car is to make 600 horsepower and have it be streetable. So I'm doing the sloppy turbo method. Essentially, sloppy says get a junkyard motor, throw a cam in it, throw a big turbo on it, and drive it. Don't worry about it too much. Just get the turbo plumbed, plumb it to the engine, it'll make power, or it'll break, and then you just rinse and repeat. To make 600 horsepower on E85, I wanted to bolster the fuel system pretty well, so I'm going to be using the OEM fuel tank and the fuel module. I'm going to try and add in a Hellcat 525 liter per hour fuel pump that's inside the tank, and then I'm going to plumb it with a bunch of AN line, dash 8 to the engine, and then dash 6 back. I also have 1000cc snake eater injectors and the fuel fittings and everything to go with it. So really simple, keep the fuel system simple, and get a bunch of fuel up to the engine pretty much. Cooling system, really simple. I bought a nice radiator, it's got fans on it already, and I also, because of the way the chassis is, the water pump, this is the stock truck pump, it's actually got like a water neck that's going straight into the frame along with the heater lines. So the heater lines are going to be a little tricky to figure out. I do want to run heat and AC in the car eventually, but for now I just bought a straight out water neck, and then I'm just going to try to mount the radiator to the chassis and really just do some simple radiator hoses and not worry too much about the cooling system. Besides, you know, a thermostat to power the fans, then we're pretty much good to go there. Brake system. Really simple. I worked at O'Reilly Auto Parts. I got all brand new calipers. I lost a ton of money on cores that I didn't have, but I've got all 4 brand new calipers, all 4 brand new rotors. I've got brand new rubber lines, which aren't on the car yet, and I still need new brake lines. So that's the major part left of the brake system, is running in the lines front to rear, and then once the body's back on, I'll have to plumb it up to the new Brake Master cylinder and booster. But other than that, it's all done already. Next, 600 horsepower. It's not gonna make itself. So I got a big turbo. It's not that big. But this is the Sloppy Mechanics Denma 7875 turbo. Apparently, I think with this one, because I got like the shiny one, the billet one, instead of the cast one, this one apparently makes a little bit more power. I think I saw someone make about 800. So I kind of left myself some room to grow, not much, but I could always upgrade to twins. This thing really wasn't that expensive. I got the whole turbo kit from VS Racing. So if you're interested in the turbo kit I'm running, it's called the Denma package, and it's from VS Racing, which is turboforless.com. No sponsorships, I wish, to sponsor me. But it came with everything you need. Intercooler, blow-off valve, wastegate, some of the flanges, some of the piping, and the turbo. So really simple kit. I really liked it, and just look up Sloppy Mechanics and you know exactly what I'm talking about. I used to work at a performance shop, and my old boss had the world's fastest and quickest hearse, and he did it with an LQ4 and a big, I don't know if it was a big single, it might have been a big single turbo, but I loved that he did it with just flipped truck manifolds. So LS, obviously, these exhaust manifolds are symmetrical, so you can flip them upside down, reverse them, you can put them in any which way they fit. So I really just want to pull these off, flip them upside down, and have them go up and forward, and then that turbo is going to be mounted nice up and high, and should be good to drain the oil back down to the pan by itself. And I love that it's going to be kind of crazy looking, because they're not symmetrical. So it's going to be like flipped truck manifolds, weld the turbo on, make power, drive car fast. So that's the turbo kit. And the last thing is engine tuning. Again, super simple. 5.3 LS means I can run a Holley Terminator. $1,300 and I get the full capability of tuning. I can tune it myself. A lot of other guys know how to tune these things. They can tune them remotely. And I'm actually excited to learn how to tune myself a little bit. And it comes with the cool handheld, so you don't even need to run any gauges. It just uses all the OEM sensors, and the most you might need is a speedometer. But super simple plug and play kit, and not a bad price on that either. But that's pretty much the plan. So for the next 2 months, you're gonna see a lot of content come out for the Corvette. We're gonna be knocking out the cooling system, the brake system, the fuel system. Those are the big three off the bat. Fixing rust on the body so we can put the body back on, and then I'm gonna have to plumb the turbo. I don't know if I should run it with no turbo for a little while. I'm not building 2 exhaust systems, so it's gonna be loud. Oh. Also, if you're interested in motorcycles, I bought this old GL 1000. It's a 1976. It is an original Goldwing. So I wanted to build a massive cafe racer. I'm obsessed with huge motorcycles. My last bike was a VTX 1800, which was a beast. But I wanted a cheap bike to tinker on. I actually bought this thing when we had just bought our last house, and it has been sitting for so long, and I have kept it. I am firmly keeping it. I want to ride it. I just have never really had the time to tackle like fixing it. You know, it's got a quad carb. I was going to convert it to a single carb, maybe put new tires on it. I've never had the time to comb through the whole bike and get it road ready. But again, I'd love to spend some time on this. If you guys are into motorcycle content, just let me know, and I will spend some money and put some time into this thing, because I will not argue about riding this thing. My dream is to take this thing on a massive road trip alone, no wife, no bullshit, just me, a backpack, a tent, Deals Gap, and all the way down to the Florida Keys, to the southernmost point. My dad used to ride a big old Harley, and he took his on a road trip all the way down, and he has a picture of him in front of the southernmost point in the Florida Keys. And it's always been an idea to go and take a bike and recreate that photo. So let me know if you guys want to see that. So that's pretty much the whole Corvette plan. Just slam this thing together over the next couple months, put the body back on it, and try to get it drivable. I'm so confident that I'm going to drive this thing this summer. It already has license plates. The license plates are registered to the car. It should be ready to go if I can get it running. So seems like a lot. It will be a lot. I'm going to truck on this thing hard though and try to get it done.
So if you've been following along for a while, you know that we've been restoring our really cool, cheap old house that we bought about a year ago. So Joel is busting his butt trying to fix up the house. We're making it really cool. You'll be able to see that content, and you'll be able to see what Joel's doing to the car. So it's kind of a really busy, it's
been a crazy year. We have gotten quite a bit done on the house.
Yeah.
And you're gonna see a little bit more on the channel, even though a lot of guys are here for the vet. Don't be scared off by the house content. It's just something I also do.
Yeah.
But the garage is where my passion lies. The house is just where I live.
But it's been quite an adventure, so we hope you guys enjoy.
Yeah, we hope you subscribe if you haven't, and if you are, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we'll see you in the next video. Thanks.
Bye.